What's up guys, my name is Brandon, welcome to Quick Flicks. Today, we are wrapping up the Scream series with Scream 4, directed by Wes Craven. Scream 4 takes place a little over a decade after the third film. But some awesome news, we're actually getting the fifth film in January of 2021. Fair warning though, there's a weird smudge glowy haze over the film. I don't really know if that was like the lens or if they actually put a filter over it, so just note, the quality of the video isn't low, the movie just looks a bit odd. Anyway, with all of that out of the way, let's jump into the movie. The movie opens up with two ladies, Shanae and Trudy, chilling in their house when they get a spooky phone call from a familiar voice. They get a bit freaked out and hang up. The doorbell rings and they go to investigate. Shanae pokes her head out the door, but the coast seems to be clear. Oh, never mind. Shanae flips out, tries running out, but gets her throat slit. She falls to her death, the Stab 6 title card then playing. So yes, that was in the film Stab. Two girls, Chloe and Rachel, then turn off the TV, not wanting to continue the film. Rachel complains about the movie as she gets popcorn. When she comes back, Chloe gets annoyed and stabs her right in the tummy. Ouch. We then see the Stab 7 title card. So yes, that was another film within a film. We then see two more ladies, Jenny and Marnie. Jenny hears a noise upstairs and goes to investigate, but just prank calls Marnie, pretending to be the killer. After some giggles, Jenny makes her way downstairs, not seeing Marnie anywhere. She then gets a phone call from a familiar voice. After getting freaked out a bit, Marnie's corpse gets thrown through the glass door and in comes Ghostface chasing Jenny. They make their way to the garage, where Jenny gets stabbed in the back and tries crawling out. Ghostface shuts the door on her and stabs her one last time for good measures. We then get the Scream 4 title card, so yes, this is the actual movie now. The next day, we meet back up with Sidney Prescott in Woodsboro. She's just visiting this time around, as she is now a known author and doing a book signing for her new upcoming title, about her time throughout the last three films. We then see Dewey, who has officially become the sheriff of Woodsboro, where we meet one of his deputies, Deputy Judy, who is definitely crushing on him. We then meet back up with Gail, who is jealous of Sidney's success as an author. This motivates her to write her new entry, but is definitely suffering from writer's block. Later that morning, we meet Sidney's cousin, Jill, and her homies Kirby and Olivia. They make their way to school when Jill gets a call from the killer asking what her favorite scary movie is, but she gets creeped out and hangs up. They get to school and run into the movie club nerds, Robbie and Charlie. Robbie keeps a little headset on 24/7, streaming his everyday life. In the halls, Jill's boyfriend Trevor finds his way to her. They talk about some issues they're having in their relationship, but honestly nobody really cares. Gail makes her way to Sidney's book signing when Dewey and some other cops show up. They trace the phone that the killer used back to this bookstore's whereabouts. They give the telephone a dial and end up finding it in Sidney's rental vehicle. Now how in the world did they hear this ringtone from the bookstore? It was in her frickin' trunk. There's also a knife and photos of Sid with blood smeared all over them. This situation blows up with the media, and everyone finds out about the incident. The police launch an investigation, trying to solve this thing before it gets out of hand. Gail tries talking to Dewey in his office when Judy gets in the way, telling her not to interfere with police business. Dewey takes Judy's side and informs Gail she can't be interfering with police business at the moment, this causing some issues in their marriage. Outside is Rebecca Walters, Sidney's publicist and personal assistant. She a lot, like the OG Gail from the first Scream, excited about the murders of the two female teens, which she believes will contribute to her success. Later that night, we meet Jill's mom, Kate, which is Maureen's sister. Jill goes to her room where she gets freaked out by a sneaky Trevor. He creepily tries to calm her down and also gets caught by Sidney. Not a good look for you, dude. Sid says goodnight and walks out of the room to see Judy very creepily standing there in the shadows and talks to Sid about how they used to go to high school together. What a weirdo. Later into the night, Jill and Kirby are laying in bed, watching literally one of the best films ever made, Shaun of the Dead, whenever Olivia calls them. We find out Olivia lives just across the street. Moments after the phone call, Kirby gets a call from Ghostface. He does the typical Ghostface lines when he dares her to check the closet. Kirby bravely opens it up, but oh no, that's the wrong closet. Ghostface pops out of Olivia's closet and slashes her up across the street. He kills her and smashes her through the window and waves his little knife around. Curbs and Jill get the attention of Sid, and she bravely runs across the street to help Olivia and take down this darn killer. She arrives and finds Olivia gutted up. Jill shows up at the door, where Ghostface then appears behind her and cuts her up. Sid charges them and takes that killer downstairs and beats that fool up. Sid knocks him out, and the police arrive, but too late, Sid turns her back, and the killer is gone. At the hospital, Charlie and Robbie are streaming the media circuit outside when Gail shows up, proposing that they work together, eventually agreeing to do so. Inside the hospital, Sid finds out just how terrible Rebecca is, and fires her. Rebecca gets all upset, and heads to the parking garage to find her car and get the heck out. On the way out, she gets a phone call from Ghostface. She gets terrified and tries running, but the killer catches up to her and stabs her in the tummy. Down below at a press conference Dewey is holding, Rebecca's body falls from the parking garage and pummels into the news van. Everybody freaks out and runs off. The next night, an event called Stabathon is going on, where everyone gathers and watches all of the Stab movies together, which is hosted by Charlie and Robbie. Gail sneaks in and sets up some hidden cameras just in case the killer makes his way there. When she gets back to her car, she notices that all of the cameras are suddenly going black, and then on the last camera, she sees Ghostface. She heads back inside and sees another camera not set up by her. Ghostface pops up behind her and manages to stab her. Dewey shows up and fires some rounds at Ghostface, causing him to run off. Dewey checks on Gail and thank goodness she'll be okay. Officer Haas and Perkins are chilling outside Jill's house, just to make sure everything is okay. Haas does a perimeter check, and when he gets back to the car, he finds Perkins playing a prank on him. This gives Ghostface the chance to sneak up and stab Haas right in the back, killing him. Ghostface then turns to Perkins and stabs him right in the head. Perkins gets out and tries fighting back but falls to his death. Strong man. While Sid is inside, Kate pops up from her late night grocery run. Sid shortly after gets a call from the killer and he alludes to killing Jill. Sid then going upstairs to check on her, but lo and behold, Jill is gone. Kirby came to pick her up. Kate and Sid go to find her, but when leaving out the front door, Ghostface shows up. They slam it shut on him, but Kate gets stabbed through the little mouse slot and ultimately dies. Judy then shows up, but Sid's not trusting her. She pieces out and goes to find Jill. Her being with Kirby, Charlie, Robbie, and Trevor all at Kirby's house. Trevor kind of just weaseled his way inside. He claims Jill texted him to come over, but she turns those allegations down. Jill goes to find her phone, and Trev follows behind. Robbie also walks out, leaving Charlie and Kirby behind to watch Stab alone. They get a little flirty and almost kiss whenever Trevor walks in looking for Jill. Charlie gets all upset and walks out, and Kirby gives Trevor some clear signs that she isn't happy either. Robbie is just chilling around vlogging while drunk when a wild ghost face appears, stabbing Robbie numerous times, ultimately killing him. Sid shows up to the front door moments later, urging Kirby and Jill to leave with her. Seconds later, they see Robbie stumble around and fall to his death. Ghostface then shows up and chases them into the house. Jill hides under the bed while Sid goes on the roof. She dials Dewey up, but gets knocked down by Ghostface. She barely clings on until dropping to avoid getting stabbed. She then runs back into the house and runs into Kirby. They make their way to the basement where Charlie shows up outside with blood all over his hands. Kirby, not trusting him, gives the killer enough time to show up behind him and knock him out, tying him to a chair. Sid runs off to find Jill, while Kirby talks to the killer on the phone and answers all of his questions. She thinks that she answered Ghostface's last question correctly and runs outside to untie Charlie, but Charlie stands up and stabs her right in the belly twice. It's left unknown whether or not Kirby dies, as Wes Craven intended her to survive and take the torch from Sid, his final girl in Scream 5 and 6. Charlie runs off and grabs Sid, threatening to cut her throat, but she escapes his grasp and attempts running out of the door, only to get stabbed in the stomach by another Ghostface. Ghostface then takes off her mask, revealing to be Jill. They take her to the kitchen and bring out Trevor, planning on framing him for all of the murders. They shoot him right in the naughty spot and then put him down with a headshot. They explain their motives, with it essentially being fame. They believe surviving these murders will give them publicity and all of the fame that they could ever want. They start referencing Billy and Stu and plan to hurt themselves to make it look like they were also attacked. But Jill stabs Charlie right in the heart, not wanting him to survive either. She plans on making him look like Trevor's partner so that she can be the sole survivor. Jill then stabs Sid right in the stomach again, making Sid fall down. Jill then starts preparing to wound and injure herself to make it look like she was attacked. She rips out her own hair, stabs herself, and throws herself into a freaking glass table. Not gonna lie, that was pretty awesome. She lays herself by Sid when Dewey and Judy show up with a police force, where they see all of the mayhem that just occurred. Jill gets wheeled out where she gets a taste of all of the fame that she worked so diligently for. Finally in the hospital, Dewey tells Jill that Sid might just make it. Jill, not having it, waits for Dewey to leave, and then sneaks out of her room to finally put out Sid once and for all. When she gets to Sid's room, they tussle for a bit when Dewey shows up, but Jill knocks him out. Gail and Judy show up, but Jill holds them at gunpoint. Gail distracts Jill when Sid comes from behind her and defibrillates her in the cranium. Goodness gracious, that would hurt. The survivors group up when Jill comes back for one last scare. Sid turns around quickly and John Wicks her. Everyone else ends up living, and the cameras fade to black as we stare into them psycho eyes.